So if you're self-employed or have a small business, watch out for the increasing burden of taxation, the increasing burden of just doing business. Just getting things like insurance are going to be harder. Getting loans from banks and all that sort of stuff. They will just make it harder and harder to make small businesses viable.
We've kind of been seeing small businesses being targeted for quite some time, but right now, what do you think are the main tactics they're using to kind of fast track that a little bit or get more out of business?
Yeah, so I think it's two things are happening. One, that there's no smarts in government anymore, right? And they're all believing their own bullshit. They all think Twitter's real, and they believe that whole ecosystem, so they make decisions based on that. And that then has consequences for small businesses, right? Unintended consequences. They think they're helping small business, they think they're helping the mum and dad, but really they're hurting them. The other thing is this big push, and we saw it at the job summit last week, and I think I mentioned it on the call last week, is there is a concerted effort, especially by Labor and the unions, to get rid of small business. Right? The unions want everyone to work in a big communal, big collective, a big group, so they can get their fees and they can control the workforce. Right? And then by controlling the workforce, they can control the bosses and the enterprise and all that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, most unions control most of the ASX 200 purely and simply because the unions control the super funds, which are the major shareholders of these companies. So big business is out in a way to squash small business as well. I haven't met a billionaire yet that didn't do it from trying to squash everyone around him. So that's definitely happening. And the other problem we've got is we've got people representing us who have never ever employed a person. And I forget how, I think there's only out of 152 people in the House of Reps, I think there's only 11 or 12 that have actually worked in a business that wasn't politics or union or law firm or something like that, where they've actually physically had to employ people. And it's worse at the state government level. So that is a major problem, because these people don't understand. They say they understand, but they don't understand. And just by their naivety and that, they make decisions that then flows through and destroys the middle class. There is a war, and the war's on the middle class. And it has been for quite a while.
Well, I mean, I think it's true. A lot of politicians are more just glorified employees. So, yeah, like you said, a lot of them who have never employed people probably just make decisions from the perspective like that they've never employed someone, so they're kind of just guessing and making business decisions which will eventually affect people because they have no clue what they're doing. So yeah. That makes sense when you put it like that. So is anything else you wanted to add to the business side, how they're targeting small businesses and big businesses growing?
Look, I'll only reinforce what I said the other day. There's a big, the underlying thing that was through the job summit and the push by even the Business Council of Australia, which surprised me, and the so-called Small Business Association, or whatever they call themselves, they join with the unions. These are two bodies that shouldn't be joining with the unions to make it harder for you to work. So if you're self-employed or have a small business, watch out for the increasing burden of taxation, the increasing burden of just doing business. Just getting things like insurance are going to be harder. Getting loans from banks and all that sort of stuff. They will just make it harder and harder to make small businesses viable. But what you got to remember is small business in Australia traditionally is 80% of the workforce. Right. So small business, self-employed are 80% of the workforce. And the unions can't have that. And you also can't have that many bosses around the place if you're going to have a socialist ideal and that sort of stuff. So watch this space. It's going to get harder for small business, but small businesses are going to fight back, especially the farmers.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's a good follow-up from last week too, because I remember you talking about self-employed needing to make that transition to a business owner. So it's more just hearing that it's just more important than ever to even move faster than what people are doing right now.